Welcome to Southwest Desert, where adventure meets the arid beauty of the American Southwest. Join me as we explore Southwest's lost historical characters, stunning desert vistas, forgotten Native American history, or tales of lost gold mines. There's always something new to discover. Subscribe now and hit the bell icon so you don't miss out on our latest desert adventures. Let's journey together into the heart of the Southwest Desert. Sit back and enjoy. Welcome, listeners, to another episode of Southwest Desert. Today we're diving into a fascinating tale from the silver-rich hills of Nevada. It's a story of boom towns, prospectors, and a long-lost mine that might still be waiting to be rediscovered. So sit back, relax, and let's journey back to the early 20th century when the Nevada desert was teeming with fortune seekers and dreamers. Our story begins in the early 1900s, a time when the American West was still wild and full of promise. The recent discoveries of silver in Tonopah and gold in Goldfield had set off a frenzy of mining activity that swept across Nevada like a dust storm. The hills of Nevada, once home only to coyotes and jackrabbits, now crawling with prospectors, mining men, promoters, and greenhorn adventurers hoping to strike it rich. The air was thick with excitement, and everyone had a pocket full of rock samples, each hoping theirs would be the one to make them a fortune. In this climate of fevered optimism, our tale takes us to a small, bustling camp a few miles northeast of a lonely flag stop on the Southern Pacific Railroad. The stop was called Humboldt, named after the nearby Humboldt Sink, a place well known to those who had braved the California Trail back in the gold rush days of '49. This new camp, barely more than a collection of tents and hastily constructed wooden buildings, had been christened with the optimistic name of Rosebud. It was a typical boom town, springing up almost overnight, complete with a post office, general store, and the usual assortment of saloons and other less reputable establishments. People were pouring in daily from surrounding states, all hoping to get their piece of the action. It was into this scene of bustling activity that our story's main characters arrived one fateful day. The stagecoach rolled into town, kicking up dust, and among its passengers were two young men who stood out immediately as newcomers to the rough-and-tumble world of frontier mining camps. Thank you for joining your desert frontiersman Alan for another Southwest adventure. If you would like to help support my channel and time, hit the super thanks heart icon on the bottom of the video and contribute. This is very helpful. Sit back and enjoy. These two brothers, whose names have been lost to history, walked into the general store with an air of purpose. They didn't ask questions or engage in small talk. Instead, they quietly purchased supplies, enough food to last them a couple of weeks in the desert. They packed their provisions into 2 rucksacks, along with blankets they had brought with them, and set off westward without a word to anyone. In a place like Rosebud, where fortunes could be made or lost on a whisper, it was considered unwise to pry into other people's business. So, the townspeople watched the brothers go with nothing more than curious glances, and soon forgot about them in the daily bustle of the camp. 2 weeks passed, and life in Rosebud continued its frenetic pace. Then, as suddenly as they had arrived, the 2 young men reappeared in town. They walked back into the general store, sunburned and weary, asking about the next stage out of town. It was then that a chance conversation revealed the incredible story they carried with them. As they waited for the next day's stage, one of the local miners struck up a casual conversation, asking if they'd had any luck in their prospecting. The older brother exchanged a look with his sibling, who nodded and reached into his pocket. What he pulled out was a chunk of ore about the size of an egg. He handed it to the miner, asking if he'd ever seen anything like it before. The miner examined the sample closely. He admitted that he had seen similar ore before, but not in this part of Nevada. In his expert opinion, it was a piece of extremely rich silver ore. This revelation piqued the interest of everyone within earshot, and soon the brothers found themselves at the center of attention. Encouraged by their audience, the young men began to tell their tale. It was a story that reached back to the early days of the California gold rush, nearly half a century earlier. Their grandparents, they explained, had been part of a large wagon train bound for San Francisco in 1849. When the train reached the Humboldt Sink, they decided to stop for a day to let their animals graze and rest. Their grandfather, an avid hunter, decided to use the opportunity to try and bring in some fresh meat for the camp. As he prepared for the hunt, he made a casual remark that would later prove fateful. He mentioned that he was down to his last 3 bullets and had no lead to mold more. With that, he set off to the east, rifle in hand, hoping to bag some game for the wagon train. Hours passed and the grandfather returned empty-handed. He hadn't managed to shoot any game, but he hadn't come back entirely empty-handed either. During his hunt, he had stumbled across an outcropping of what he believed to be lead ore. Thinking it might prove useful for making more bullets, he knocked off several pounds of the rock and brought it back to camp. The grandfather tossed the ore samples into a small bucket in the back of his wagon, where they remained, largely forgotten, for the rest of the journey to San Francisco. Once the family had settled in the city, the largest piece of ore found a new purpose as a doorstop in their home. Years passed, and the ore might have remained nothing more than an unusual doorstop if not for a chance visit from a mining expert. This visitor noticed the peculiar rock and asked about its origin. When told the story of its discovery, he suggested that the family have it assayed. The results of the assay, according to the brothers, were astonishing. The rock showed high values in both lead and silver. Suddenly, that old doorstop became a tantalizing clue to a potential fortune left behind in the Nevada desert. After their grandfather passed away, the brothers inherited his personal effects, including the journal he had kept during the journey west. In it, they found an entry describing his discovery of the ore, along with enough information about the location to justify a search. And that, the brothers explained, was why they had come to Rosebud. They were using their vacation time to try and locate the ledge their grandfather had stumbled upon so many years ago. They had spent 2 weeks combing the area described in the journal, but with little success until the very last day of their trip. At this point in their story, the younger brother produced another piece of ore. To the experienced eyes in the room, it was clear that this new sample was part of the same vein as the first. The brothers confirmed this observation and went on to describe their discovery. On what was to be their final day of searching, with their supplies nearly exhausted, they came upon the remains of an old camp. Scattered around were rusted picks and shovels, weathered dishes and cooking utensils, and various other detritus of a long-abandoned mining operation. In a small level area where a tent had clearly once stood, they found the second piece of ore. It was just lying there, as if waiting for someone to come along and recognize its value. The brothers were quick to point out that neither piece of ore could have been mere float, rock that had broken off from a larger deposit and been carried away by natural forces. This suggested that the source of the ore, the vein their grandfather had discovered, must be nearby. Despite this tantalizing find, the brothers couldn't stay to investigate further. Their jobs back in San Francisco demanded their return, and they had to leave on the next stage out of Rosebud. They took their precious ore samples with them, along with the hope of someday returning to continue their search. And there, listeners, our story takes an unexpected turn. For you see, those 2 young men, so close to possibly rediscovering their grandfather's lost mine, never returned to Rosebud. They boarded the stage the next morning and vanished into history, taking with them the secret location of their grandfather's discovery. But the story doesn't end there. The tale of the lost lead and silver mine began to circulate through Rosebud and beyond. It captured the imagination of prospectors and dreamers, becoming the stuff of legend. Even today, somewhere out in the vast Nevada desert, that rich vein of ore may still be waiting, unclaimed and unexploited. It's a reminder of the ephemeral nature of boom towns like Rosebud. These places flared into existence, burned bright for a brief moment, and then faded away, leaving behind only memories and stories like this one. The landscape of the American West is dotted with such places, ghost towns that stand as monuments to dreams both realized and broken. So the next time you find yourself driving through the Nevada desert, take a moment to look out at those rugged hills. Remember that they hold not just mineral wealth, but also countless stories of hope, perseverance, and the enduring human spirit of exploration. This has been Southwest Desert. I'm your desert frontiersman, Alan, thanking you for joining us on this journey into the past. Until next time, keep your eyes open and your dreams big. You never know what treasures you might discover. Happy trails! Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more great content. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. See you in the next video.